So what's going on, bro? I got today's
What up?
topic.
What up?
I know we
All right, what is it?
so especially with the little incident that took place over at your camp, reverse progesterones. We could talk about
All right.
yeah, right? Reverse progesterones, confirming the pregnancies, the incidences that can take place, why it's so important to do a reverse progesterone, um, all that jazz. This episode is sponsored by the Beast of the East Dog Show. Come join us and see some of the best dogs in the country, meet world-renowned breeders. There's going to be working events, 2 ABKC sanctioned shows, and so much more. November 4th, 2023 at 3000 Courthouse Road, Chesterfield, Virginia. Don't miss the event of the year. We'll see you there.
I just did one this morning to see if the dog was even pregnant. Me and my wife been fighting about a dog. Everybody in the house swears she's pregnant. I just think she's fat. She ain't got no boob, no milk, no nothing. She do yesterday. Well, let's do a reverse progesterone. Nothing.
Gotcha. And now with the reverse progesterone, so all right, let's emphasize.
So here's let's start with this. Reverse progesterone textbook answer states that the dog should be below a 2.5. That's what the textbook answer says. Textbook answer says that their progesterone levels should be below 2.5. Some books say below a 3.
And let's oversimplify it, right? So a reverse progesterone, because I don't even know why some people charge more money for a reverse progesterone than a regular progesterone. It's the same exact test, whether you're getting a regular progesterone test, whether you're getting a reverse progesterone test. So anyone who charges you different prices, I don't even know where they're pulling that out from, because it costs them the same. It's the same test.
Yeah, it's still a progesterone test.
Yeah. So as her heat cycle, as most people know, you do a progesterone test at time when's the best time to do your breeding. So her numbers are going up like this. And then for reverse progesterone, for those that don't know, her numbers are usually coming down when we're timing when she's going to have her puppies. And like Chris just said, textbook 2.5. But I feel like that textbook answer comes from when there wasn't as many, it wasn't as diverse when it came to the progesterone machines. I feel like
that's correct. That's the other thing that we have to tell people is, look, there's Antec testing, IDEX, Mini Vetus, Wanfo, Toso machine. So yep. I will tell people, just because the textbook tells you that it should be below a 2.5, some say below a 3, I would converse with, like you. Remember, I called you and I was like, "Yay, man, what is the reverse progesterone on the Wanfo? Is it higher or lower than a 3?" You know what I mean? And you said, I believe with the Wanfo, somewhere around a 3 to 4, you're good. And I went, I cut the dog open. We was cool. She had 12 puppies healthy.
And actually, it's funny because when Wanfo first came out with their machines, I think they didn't really have a number, and if it was, I think it was the 3. But then people started to realize that the Wanfo runs a little bit higher. So I think it was just this year that they made the adjustment that anything over day 55, under a 5, is safe to do a C-section. So 100%. And now this is a good question, right?
So obviously, say those numbers again. Say those numbers again.
On their instructions, they say anything after day 55, under a 5, is safe to do a C-section. That's what they say, which I do have. What's nice about being on the seller side of this is I have a lot of people who have purchased the machines from me, because even my own experience.
Yeah, but day 56 is, whew. I mean, so that's basically them saying that they can do a C-section on day 56 as long as it's a 5.
Well, that's what they're saying. I wouldn't. I would, go. I look at the days, I look at her temperature, and I look at the reverse. I don't go solely based off of the reverse. I try to take as much information as I can together, and that's what kind of makes me make my decisions.
Because surfactant happens around, the surfactant happens around 56 to 57 days.
I don't know. I mean,
That's what
I
I
don't
would be.
know. Yeah, I don't know what made them say day 55. But I do agree with the number 5 though, as far as
Okay.
being safe to do a C-section. The reason why is because I actually have had firsthand experience where I did a test. She was a 5, and then I went to my vet. He has an IDEX. She was a 3. Which, depending on which vet you talk to, some will say, 2, some will say 3. I have reproductive specialists over here that are okay with 3s.
I've done them higher. You know what I mean? I've done
Yeah,
C-sections on high
yeah.
numbers. I've had cases where the dog's in labor, like her mucus plug's already out.
Yep,
I mean, we can't stop her. You know what I mean?
exactly.
We've done crazy stuff. We've opened dogs up and they weren't ready, closed her back up, and prayed for the best. I closed this dog. I mean, not me. Let me
Yeah,
rephrase it. The veterinarian. We've opened her up, and the skin on the first puppy was like really slick.
yeah.
So we sewed her back up, gave her some Regimate.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I
but
mean, it didn't. I think she had like 6 more puppies, but only 3 of them made it.
gotcha.
It
Yeah,
wasn't like perfect.
so that's one of the biggest reasons as to why you would want to do that reverse, is to make sure, especially
Yeah.
for people who are doing C-sections like myself. But now, 2 things. The first thing is, so like I said, just to backtrack, at a 5 on my machine, it turned out it was a 3 on my vet's IDEX. So then there's been instances where I've waited till a 3 on my machine, and then when I get to the vet and he runs it on the IDEX, he's like, "Yo, like she's like a 1, like she's damn near ready to go into active labor." So what I've found over time is, at first I used to tell people a 3 on the Wanfo machine, but I find that a 3 actually becomes like a 0 or a 1 on the IDEX machine. So I've found that 5 on the Wanfo machine is usually a 3. So yet again, it all comes down to the machine that you're using.
But
But
there's also, we'll get you the numbers. There's a windows, just like ovulation windows.
Mhm.
There is, in reverse progesterone, there's windows as well.
Yeah,
I want to say 5 to 7, you're 24 hours out. 7 to 10, you're like 20, you're 48 hours out. There is, a
yeah,
window.
100%.
Yeah, and it tells you, you know what I'm saying?
And then that leads to my
They're
next
just as
question.
important as the progesterone. So don't take the cheap way out, because for me, if you do it properly, everything works. I mean, modern technology will fail us. I'm on here. I failed at modern technology. When was it? When was that? About, well, obviously 2 months ago. I had some issues. Shit hit the fan. It didn't work. I bred some dogs. None of them took. So I didn't think any of them took. Then one night I'm cleaning the dogs, and this dog's acting funny, and she don't even look pregnant. She had 1 puppy. You know what I mean? So I've been in predicaments where, you know, I didn't pay attention to the signs or the science because I didn't think she was pregnant. Where, oh shit, a
But
reverse progesterone would have
but
helped.
but there is ways to layer ourselves to try to mitigate accidents.
I could have done a sonogram. I could have, I could have done a sonogram and see if I seen heartbeats. Or I could have done an
Yeah,
X-ray. But you do this long enough, I guess you kind of just look at the dog. She ain't pregnant. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So I failed. I don't have any shame in saying I fucked up. You know what I mean? The puppy's healthy and the mom's healthy. Everybody's cool. You know what I mean? But we don't think that we're oblivious to fuck ups too. Because shit, I've been doing this
it
25
happens.
plus years. I
It happens.
fucked up. You know what I mean? I'm
For,
not ashamed to stand it.
for me,
But the progesterone machine was a really good investment. I really liked it, and it really does help me. Um, I'm not trying to sell anybody progesterone. That's him. So, but the
yeah,
thing is the thing.
Breeders Act, breedersact.com somewhere.
So the thing about having a progesterone machine, like I don't know, for me, I like having it here. One, I can draw any time of the day. Two, uh, the what is it? The financial
You save a ton of
investment is
money.
the same.
A ton
It's
of
the
money.
same. You go to the vet, you pay $100.
Yeah, yeah.
You buy the machine after what, 20 tests, you paid for the machine.
Something like that. Yeah. I
I don't know how much.
I think after a couple females, like after maybe I would say maybe after 3 to 5 breedings, it probably pays for itself. something like that.
Really, I think 3 it pays for itself. It depends on how much you because you got to test in the beginning and you have to test in the end. So I
Yeah,
think after the 3rd dog, it pays for itself.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then, like you
I would
said,
say
a
that.
reverse progesterone.
Yeah,
I like the reverse progesterones because it does definitely tell me when I can do a C-section, especially if you have a weekend coming up. You know what I
yeah.
mean? You got a weekend coming up, and here where I live at, shit, C-section on weekends are like trying to find $100 bills out back.
And now here's another question, right? I'm going to throw a curveball at you. What about the people who don't do C-sections, right? What about the people who don't do C-sections? Do you think that a reverse progesterone? I'm playing devil's advocate right now. I want to see what your response is. Do you
Well,
think
I
it's
mean, it would
worthwhile?
help you. If I have the machine, for me, this is what I would. If I have the machine here, and just say it's Friday night and you want to go out and have a good time with your wife, take your wife on a date. I mean, it takes me 15 minutes to run a reverse progesterone, so I don't have to be like, do I have to stay home?
Gotcha.
If I have the machine here, I have test here. When you do the mathematics on the test, what are you into a test for like $5?
Yeah, I think it's like, yeah, 5 to like
$7,
to
$8, even if
$9.
it's $10, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
say it's $10 for one test, right? You do the test real quick. All right, well, she's a 17 on a reverse progesterone. All right, let's go. You can go out because now you don't have to worry yourself or be sitting in there with her all night.
Yeah.
She's not actively in labor. Yeah, I mean, I understand what it's devil's advocate, but I wouldn't. I would do it especially if your wife, like you're coming to my dog show, right?
Yep.
And they say you have a dog pregnant. All right, do you have to make? Is she going to be okay in her kennel, or boom? Do I need to find a whelper while I'm gone for the next 2 days?
Yeah, it's true. I agree. I agree 100%. I agree 100% with
I mean,
that.
we have modern technology. Why not use it? That's how I feel about it. I mean, you got to think we use these shits and these all day long. You know what I mean? Why
Yeah,
not use the machines for our benefits as well?
100%. I agree. I agree. And exactly with what you're saying, the whole aspect of just not having puppies in the middle of the night unexpectedly, because I always look at it like this. If there's one thing that I could have done that potentially, maybe if I would have known that the puppies were going to be born, even if I don't do C-sections, even if I'm in a breed that doesn't do C-sections, but if I could have been there to ensure that each puppy, successfully comes out, that they get properly woken up, so on and so forth. Even if it saved one puppy's life, in my opinion, it's probably worth it. Especially with what puppies go for today. So,
I
yeah, no,
mean,
I agree with that answer.
I like doing reverse progesterones. They come in handy when you bred the dog. You can also learn your female better too. You
Yeah,
can learn because if you're doing a reverse progesterone, naturally they go 60 days past ovulation. Their cycle. I mean, their puppies come 60 days past ovulation. So we'll just say you bred her on a Monday at a 14. Just hear me out. This analogy. You bred her on a Monday, she was a 14. She doesn't give birth until 64 days past that day. We'll just say, right? Well, that's not the day she was ready. So she ovulated on higher numbers versus lower numbers than what you thought. You know what I mean? You just used a stud who had good semen and it stayed in there, or you bred her again. You know what I mean? So it helps you it teaches you the female as well, especially if you have a small program. You can keep track of every time you bred them, when you bred them, how you bred them, and you can help learn your machine better, and you can learn to use how to use the dog, how to breed her better in a sense of when to breed her.
well, actually, that leads me to another thing now. Actually, another thing to add to the whole people who say don't do reverse progesterones because of the fact that they don't do C-sections is, well, what
The
about?
only thing I would tell you before I forget, guys, I had to tell you this, and it's imperative because I worked in that field. When you are doing a reverse progesterone, do not blow the fucking vein. The
Yeah,
reason I say that is because then they can't put the catheter in your dog.
yep.
So for me, I take my time. I actually use the jugular when I'm doing a reverse progesterone, but that's beside the point. Because when you go in for when you go in for a C-section, what do they always do? They put the catheter in the dog, right?
Yeah.
So if you got one arm all blown out, because you in there digging around and you blew the vein out. Now you only got one chance on one arm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or if you're gonna do the arm, because you said, hey, Chris, I can't do the jugular, I can only do the arm. Start low.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I say low, go down by the paw as far as you can on the vein. So when you go in, they always shave the arm. Just tell them, hey, I took blood out of her right arm this morning because to get a reverse progesterone, so she doesn't blow her vein.
I think regardless,
I just remember.
I think regardless, they should, probably tell your vet, hey, I drew blood on this arm or that arm or whatever, because I think probably most of the people who do their own progesterone testing probably take out of the cephalic vein, which is, the arm. So I agree.
It makes a huge difference. Sometimes, if you blew the vein or you went all the way through the vein and you got IV going in there, it'd be smarter to put it in the other arm. So I know for me, I would always tell the vet, they already knew because I worked there, like, listen, I always hit right arm. I always hit the right arm because it's the way I hold and everything like that. I can't really do the left arm because I'm not left-handed. So they already knew when I would come in, everything got to go on the left arm.
Yep.
It makes a huge difference, man. It really does sometimes.
I believe it. And the other thing that I was going to throw in there was actually, yet again, playing devil's advocate. I know of two scenarios. One scenario being where I have a friend of mine who he didn't do reverse progesterone. The female failed to her progesterone numbers didn't drop, so she was retaining the puppies, and sure enough, the puppy stayed inside of her. She never actually kind of went into labor because her progesterone didn't drop, and then the puppies winded up turning septic, and he had a big issue on his hands. The other scenario, the other side of that is I had a friend who, same thing, female didn't her numbers weren't I'm sorry, let me rephrase. Her temp didn't drop. She wasn't going into labor, but her reverse was kind of going down a little bit slow. So he made the decision of, you know what, things are going too slow. She's already day 63. I'm going to do the C-section. And they did the C-section, and the puppies came out nice and healthy. So I just throw that out there to be like, hey, not every single time, it's rare, but not every single time will a female kind of go into active labor and everything goes smoothly. So knowing those numbers just kind of tells you where you're at. It's just another piece of information that's helpful, in my opinion.
I've done a C-section with a female being a 17 before.
Because her numbers weren't going down, right?
No, she was in labor. That was the one we cut open.
Oh wow! So
the first time she actually gave birth, or no, she didn't give birth. Blood was everywhere. She went into labor, and I took her to the vet, and we didn't even do a reverse progesterone that day. We just cut her open because she was in labor. And when we took the first one out, it was, that slick. I mean, if you ever had a premature puppy, you understand what I'm saying. That really slick skin.
Like a naked mole rat.
Yeah, it looked like one of them naked cats my wife got.
Yeah.
So we just, we sewed her back up, and he was like, let's put her on Regimate. We put her on Regimate for 2 days. We took her progesterone that day, and she was like a 28. And so 2 days later, with Regimate, she was a 17 still. And so he was like, let's pull them. And we pulled them, and their hair, it was always slick, but 3 of them did make it. But she was a 17 when we pulled her.
Wow, see, and just,
I mean, just because the numbers, so like the numbers are just like regular progesterone. In theory, the book says, that's why I say it like that, the book says between a 2.5 and a 3. That's basically what the textbook answer is as far as CYA, covering your ass. That's what they say in the service, CYA, cover your ass. So for me to cover my ass, I have to tell you that the textbook answer says between a 2.5 and a 3. Have I seen it higher? Absolutely. Have I seen it at a 0 point something? Absolutely. I've seen it in all different things. So pay attention to your dog too. You know what I mean? Your dog is going to tell you signs. Is it outside digging? Is she nesting? Is she, not eating? Is she not drinking? Is she panting? I would tell you for the last 2 or 3 days of what you think might be it. Give her calcium. You can give her cottage cheese. You can give her calcium tabs. I give mine a calcium, magnesium, and zinc tabs. I mean, it ain't going to hurt her. It ain't going to do anything to the puppies, but it damn sure will help her because calcium is how they keep the strength up to give birth. Yeah. You know what I mean? So And if it ain't gonna do nothing but make the milk richer, so what's it gonna do? It ain't gonna hurt anything. So like I said, we're just trying to help you guys and tell you things that we've experienced. And I've seen a 17 and I've seen a 0.1 before. Yeah. So, but the textbook answer, CYA, says between a 2.5 and a 3.
Just to remind you guys, we are not vets. We are just sharing with you guys stories of our experience, as dog breeders for decades and decades with Chris and me.
So basically all we're doing is, you know how you got that one person you call when shit don't feel right, when things don't add up? We're just here to tell you what we do to each other. Hey, Angel, man, I've called Angel like, hey, I got that wand for. I'm not extremely familiar with it. It was when I first got it. I was used to a Toso machine in Texas. And so I called him. I said, man, I did a reverse. She's like a 4.8. He was like, take her. I was like, all right, cool. I didn't second guess you. I took the dog to the vet. We did a C-section. I think it was 10 or 12 healthy puppies. No questions asked.
Yeah. See? So now that leads to another thing actually I want to talk about real quick. And now this is, in my opinion, at least for me, my bulletproof layering when it comes to reverse and coming down to doing our C-sections, right? Because I do nothing but C-sections. Is what I do is reverse progesterone, and I start as early because I have my own machine. I start as early as day 55 just to get a baseline. I know it's overkill, but I start at day 55. I don't really see significant drops until around day 57, 58, but get a baseline at day 55. I also start taking her temperature in the morning and at night. It's just because of the fact that with me, I'm over precautious because I know for a fact my dogs are not going to push these puppies out. So I know I need to be on my A game when it comes to C-sections, and being here on the East Coast, C-sections ain't cheap. So what I do is reverse progesterone at day 55. And I'll typically do one like every other day. As once I get closer to that 5, that's when I'm testing, closer than maybe every other day. I'm doing my temps at day 55, morning and at night. I don't do it just one day. I do it morning and at night, because if she's a 98, say today, and I wait all the way, or let me rephrase, say she's a 99, and then right after I do that 99, in the middle of the night, she's a 98, and I wait all the way till tomorrow evening to check her again, and she's a 98. Well, I don't know how long she's been a 98 for, and usually at a 98. What's up?
Here's what I tell people when it comes to temperature. Once you hit 99, test more frequently.
Yes.
Once you hit a 98, that doesn't necessarily mean she's in labor. What it means is she had a contraction. So if you test her and she's a 98.9, wait 2 hours, go back, and if she's sleeping and you put the thermometer in her, I'll guarantee you $1 to a donut, she's going to be about a 99 again, which means that she's having what you would call in a woman Braxton Hicks, which you're probably within the 24 to 48 hour window, which you probably already knew that, but those temperatures are an indicator. Same thing with progesterone. They're indicators. What he's telling you guys is indicators.
Yep. It's all information, all indicators. So that's why I try to layer myself up with as much information and indicators as possible. So then it takes a lot of the guessing. We know as much as we possibly can. So like I said, temperature in the morning, temperature at night. It may be overkill, but I'd rather have more information than not enough information. So the temperature, the reverse progesterone, and then I'm trying to think what else we do. Those are
probably, if you do sonograms, you can see their heartbeats. Think a fetal heartbeat. Don't quote me on this, guys. I want to say it's above 180.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know
I think it's above 180. 180 to like 250, something like that. I mean, I can look it up, but it's like 180 to 250. But I want to tell you, if it's below 180, or maybe it's below 170, it's a weird number like that. The puppy might be in distress. If you have a sonogram machine, and if you have one and you can take it, if I want to tell you under 170 or 160 something, I can't remember. It's like between 170 and 180. Maybe 160, guys. I might be wrong, but
you can use a
dog. But if your heart rates are low, that ain't good. They're supposed to be high. Once they start dropping, that means that they're ready to be born. Yep. And if it's too low, that means that they're in the distress.
And the last indicator, the last thing I look at is pretty much, is she nesting? Is she starting to scratch and trying to make a nest? and the mucus plug. The mucus plug to me is the oh shit indicator, where you
Go.
like it, right?
Let's go.
Yeah, yeah. So I had that happen where literally, and this is when I first learned about it, is like me and my wife, we're in the kitchen, and yo, it was like, it's like luck. Like we checked, so we're getting ready to go to work, right? Because me and her both work on 9 to 5 jobs. So this was years ago. We're getting ready to go to work. We get all dressed up. She's in her suit and stuff, and I'm in my outfit, and we're getting ready to go. Like, all right, let's just check everybody real quick before we leave. I take a look, and I'm like, I told my wife, yo, I think it's either her or me. One of us looked, and we're like, yo, she's dripping a discharge, and we're like, oh shit, like that's like the mucus plug, what we've heard of, you know. And I'm like, and I tell my wife, I'm like, yo, get the car ready, we got we calling out of work, we going right to the vet. And the mucus plug, like I said, once I had seen that, I already knew, like, because I had read about it before, it was my first time seeing it, that basically like she's gonna have them within a
Line
few.
ball. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
tell people green means go. When you see green discharge, go. Get your ass to the
started
vet.
it started like more of a milky clearish, and then it
Then it
started
turns
turning
green.
green, and that's when I
And
knew
then
that.
once it goes from green to red, you're in distress. Red means you're in distress. So here's the things, I was in the service. Everybody knows I was in there for a long time. Always, I mean, these are the things that you got to remember. There's little analogies you got to remember when it comes to certain things as far as saving a dog's life. Bright red, you're dead. Always remember that. Bright red blood, that's what they say. Blight in humans, when we would do, combat saving and all that, they would say bright red, you're dead. That was the little acronym. So when that blood turns from clear to green, green means go. Then it turns into that weird, you'll know what I'm talking about, like the green mixed with the blood. So it's kind of like burnt orange looking,
Yeah.
nasty, and you're still safe. But when that shit turns bright red,
Yep.
you should have already been at the hospital.
But I mean, yet again, ideally, like I try to get my C-sections before it gets to that close with the whole mucus plug. So just
Gotcha.
to reiterate, it's like it's reverse progesterone, then temperature, then looking at the behavior, nesting,
No
mucus plug
food.
is, yeah,
So,
no, yeah,
I
yes,
always get people
another
to
one.
tell me this, but here's the thing. This is the one thing I can't stand when people say to me, "Oh, she didn't eat this morning, but I gave her steak, so she ate." Listen, guys, it's a fucking dog. You give her a steak, she's gonna eat the shit. So if
Exactly.
she didn't eat her regular food that you normally give her, then you be alarmed. She can slow down because sometimes they slow down the bigger they are. You know what I mean? Um, and if something doesn't seem right, more than likely follow your gut. I just had a recent litter, that something didn't feel right. She wasn't eating properly. I took her in. Well, the whole time she had not the whole time. There was a puppy sitting directly in the vaginal canal, and it was pushing down on something. I don't know. We couldn't get it out. So we
Let's
had to
talk
have the
about
C-section.
that. Let's talk about that. Wait, so I want to talk about that for a moment. So people don't realize, right? When it comes to these reverse progesterones, like we're like, especially if you're a person who has a breed that needs a C-section, right?
Yeah.
Um, the one of the biggest things is, and I'm gonna share my story with everyone, is like, for example, I had a dog that before I knew any better, I had a dog that I was like, oh, I have time, I could put it off, the vet's just trying to get me for more reverse progesterones or whatever the case it may be. Well, I had one of those oh shit moments, and this is like kind of worst case scenario as to what can happen if you guys don't take what we're saying very serious. Is I remember I walked into where my dogs is at the dog room, and this was in the morning, because I was like, all right, you know what? I got time. I could take her tomorrow to get the reverse progesterone. It's fine. And I just try to stress to people, these dogs operate on their own time, on Mother Nature's time, not on our time. So before, when I was younger and not as experienced, I walked in. What happened? I had a puppy hanging out, stretched like a hot dog, you know, because she had been trying to push that puppy in the middle of the night. She had been trying to push the puppy out, and it got stuck, and she hadn't been able to push it out. So I'm like, oh crap, I'm scrambling. I don't know what to do. I grab her, rush her to the vet. And when I get to the vet, he tells me, obviously that puppy's not going to survive. She stretched it out, and now I have to actually forcibly remove that puppy, but that puppy's a goner. Now, because you waited too long to get her to me, you were asleep or whatever, and she was pushing. it winded up rupturing. It's like a train when the puppies are coming out, and it winded up rupturing the sacs behind that puppy that was being stretched. So all the puppies behind that puppy winded up dying, and that's actually very common when a puppy's stuck and it doesn't come out. It winds up killing the puppies behind it, and only I think one survived out of like 6.
So here's my philosophy on that, because my breed's one of those breeds that's supposed to be a free whelper. My dogs can give birth naturally. I've been on the phone with you, and Gina's made videos of puppies giving birth naturally. Well, here's my question. Now, just hear me out. As a business owner, if the first puppy dies and it blocks the passageway for the next 6 puppies, like you said, now everything dies. If I'd have just went in, got a C-section with my reverse progesterone number being a 4 or a 3, and I cut the dog open, all of them are alive, so I have more product to reinvest. You know what I mean? Like I make more money. It's not even about money, but it is about numbers as far as how much money you invest to how much money you have your return on your investment. So if you only have one puppy, like you just said, that lived, you have a stud fee. If you paid a stud fee, you bought the female. We'll just say you bought that female. One puppy is only going to cover one of those costs. It ain't going to cover both. Now, if you would have had all 7 of the puppies, hypothetically, all 7 of those puppies would have made it because you paid the C-section. It would have cost you the mom, the dad, the C-section. That's 3 puppies. You still would have had 4 more puppies to regain your profits.
At least they're
So,
not.
a lot of people say, "Oh, C-section. Why are you going to do C-section if you don't need them?" Because I'm not Mother Nature and I'm not Jesus. I don't know when the dog is going to actually need a C-section or not.
And the
so
other
for us, we just do them.
And the other thing too is just the fact that let's yet again play devil's advocate. What if a piece of material, like placenta or something, she doesn't wind up pushing that out? Let's say
I run my dog on antibiotics after they give birth, even if they do it naturally. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, it makes total sense. We'll just say, I know you say you breed, they can't give birth. But here's the other side effect to it another side effect to what we're talking about. If you do a C-section, the mom is stressed for maybe 6 hours. And that's from the time you say, "Oh, let's go," to the time that she calms back down. And for me, I ace the mom when she comes home, because I've had pretty bad wake ups. They've been pretty. That's the only thing I don't like about C-sections is the when they wake up and they're not allergic, but they have an adverse reaction to the gas and they wake up kind of ugly or mean to the puppies. So that's it. That's the only adverse thing for me when it comes to C-sections. But I would rather pay for a C-section and have all my puppies make it than pay a C-section for the one that's stuck and now 4 more are dead.
Yeah, and if you do natural without doing an X-ray, how do you know every puppy came out?
Even with an X-ray, man. Like, I've worked at a vet way too long to tell you we can assume that there's 8 puppies. When I've done a C-section on a dog, we've done an X-ray on, we can only see 3, and the bitch had 7 puppies.
Wow. See?
And when you have anything more than 7 puppies, 8 puppies, man, look, after 8 puppies, it looks like, well, I think I see another spine. You know what I mean? You've ever seen an X-ray? You're like, well, I think there's a spine. No, that's that one's spine. You know what I mean? You can't see them anymore. So after 7, it's kind of like, oh yeah, she's pregnant as shit.
And sometimes I get slack from breeders because some breeders will tell me, well, if the dog can't have puppies naturally, then you shouldn't be breeding it or whatever. And you get some breeders who are like that. And I mean, my simple response to them is just kind of like, well, hey, I think last time I checked the statistic, it's like I think over 30%, maybe 40% of women get C-sections. So are you saying that those women shouldn't have kids then? My child comes from a C-section because my wife couldn't have kids naturally. So it's like, to me,
I don't know. I think people always try to find something to complain about or talk about. When it comes down to the bottom line, business is business. And the fact of the matter is, if you pay for a C-section before she even gives birth to any puppy, or you have to do an emergency C-section with only one dead puppy in the canal, C-section costs the same fucking price.
Yeah.
So, it just makes sense for me, if you know, if I had like a large Doberman breed or something like that, and they always had them, cool. I mean, there's only been a very like I just had a litter. She had 9 of them naturally. The 10th one got stuck, and I had to do a C-section on a dead puppy.
Oh man.
I mean, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. You know what I'm saying? I struggled like hell to try to get it out, and I couldn't get it out. It was just way too big.
I think it's also the breeds that are known, the breeds that we have that are known to have, the big blocky heads and stuff. But Chris, we actually only have less than a minute left. So we got to close this one out. We're going to do another episode really soon, guys. So we hope you guys enjoyed it as always. We'll see you guys on the next episode. All right.
Peace.
All right.